this guy is using my name, my company. He's using just this facade of a relationship, which is just a complete lie. On May 2023, when they pulled me out of the company, they literally changed it in one day. Changed in one day. Without going to court.
Yeah.
Without giving a single explanation. The letter, which was a 3-line letter, said, due to discovered fraud and deceit, we are now amending the share register.
Welcome to Going Rogue with Lara Logan. My guest this week is a very unusual man who's had an incredible life. He's only 34 years old, and he's lived more than most people ever dream of living in their lifetimes. His story is one of intrigue and oil and spies and targeted hit campaigns. Gaurav Srivastava is really he's an entrepreneur involved in many businesses. He's an immigrant who came to the United States when he was a young man and has lived here all of his adult life, or most of it. And we are here today to talk about his personal story, which will blow you away, but also about energy and the role of energy in geopolitics and the role of oil and how he sees this playing out in this particular moment in history. He's also thief of studio dog. Yes, I don't have my dog on my lap today because Gaurav, you have stolen a studio dog. Honey, are you cheating on me? Okay, so I would like to introduce Gaurav Srivastava. Right? I said that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. And we have been talking for the better part of, it's about 2 years now.
Yes.
Right?
We started this when I was in the thick of the disinformation campaign against me.
You were basically under attack.
Yeah.
And all of it has to do with oil, with sanctioned oil, with money, intrigue, and all of those things. So, okay. So I want to come to that. But before we talk about what led you to be in this position, there was some fairly big news just recently with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Mm-hmm. President Trump appearing to be a little frustrated with President Putin in the negotiations in Ukraine to end what is really just a really pointless war that has been going on for way too long. So you had an interesting take on that. Tell me what your impression was.
Lara, first of all, studio dog is very cute. And
Yes.
I think, it reminds you of the presence of God. It reminds you that God is present in every being. And, when you talk of Ukraine, you talk about Russia, you talk about all the atrocities that are committed there. The people that are dying on both sides of the line. Mm-hmm. And for what? Nobody really understands. And there are so many different narratives that are put out there. But at the end of the day, there is loss of human life.
And I think incredible suffering.
And I think an incredible suffering. Mm-hmm. And I think, animals are a reminder of how beautiful life is, and it can be if it is protected by the right people. What happened? Russia's entire defense industry complex is being run because oil is being used as an intelligence tool, and literally millions of dollars of oil is now used in various nefarious ways, in very obscure ways, through various countries that are in the Middle East, that are in Europe, that are in Asia, to be able to transit oil that is illegal and make it legal, using banking systems, using different compliance so that it can pass regulatory commission. And that is being funded to continue to fund the war that Putin and Zelensky are in. Unfortunately, if you do not target the money that Putin is making from this the evasion of sanctioned oil and bringing it to market, especially to China, I think it'll be very hard
to get a deal.
To get a deal.
Okay, but let's.
I mean, you have to break the piggy bank. You have to break it.
You have to. Well, that's really what happened in the Cold War.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what worked ultimately.
Exactly.
Was crushing the Russian economy.
That's right.
So, okay, sanctioned oil. You just mentioned that. Basically, if you can explain, one of the really interesting things I first learned about from you, was how Russia, Iran, and other countries are using sanctioned oil to evade U.S. sanctions.
That's right.
And I didn't really understand that there's a threshold, right? That when you slap sanctions on another country, when the U.S. does something like that there's still a certain amount of trade in oil that is allowed, but you're not allowed to go beyond a certain threshold, correct?
Yes, but there is a whole underground network that operates across the world, actually, to where you can take oil that is sanctioned by the U.S. because we can only sanction the U.S. dollar. When you say the United States sanctions, say, Iran, or they sanction Russia, they're not the only currency that they can regulate is the U.S. dollar.
Right.
And if you're the UK, you can regulate the pound. If you're the Europe, the European currencies. But that's all that you can do. But the BRICS currency, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, those currencies are still okay. You can still trade in those currencies.
I see. So you can't trade in U.S. dollars, in the petrodollar,
correct,
as it's often referred to, because so many countries use the U.S. dollar to trade in, right? Especially in the energy sector.
Right.
But if you're trading in, Chinese yen, for example, Indian rupees,
or the ruble or the ruble rupee trade, which happened because India bought billions of dollars of Russian oil. China bought billions of dollars of Russian oil, and they bought them in their local currencies, in rubles. And
that's how they avoid the U.S. Treasury Department and the Department of Justice, because the U.S. got no dog in that fight.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, our biggest economic weapon, our biggest weapon is our economy, is our dollar, which is the petrodollar. If that is taken away from us, we will cripple the United States. And it's happening. It's happening today.
That's what BRICS is about.
That's what BRICS is about. If it's happening today, you go to the pump. The price is exorbitant. It's been happening under the Biden administration.
Well, you live in LA, so you have among the worst energy prices in the United States.
But still, it's still pretty expensive. The price
we won't hold that against you.
LA is it's a very expensive place to live. But the prices are still high. The price of chicken is high. The price of eggs is high.
The price of everything is high. You go to the grocery store and you walk out with a couple bags and you spent hundreds of dollars and you're left wondering, how on earth does the average family do it?
But you got to ask the question, why? Where does the cost? The biggest cost in most of this is transportation. Your tomatoes are coming from a farm. They're going in a truck. That is then going into another truck that is getting into your whatever your local grocery store is, and then you get in your car and go buy them. Every time you are using oil,
and that's provided they're not flown in, which is more oil,
exactly,
or even brought in on container ships, which is more oil.
So it's an endless loop, and unless you clamp that, there is no way to stop the bleeding. And the BRICS currency, which I think the BRICS currency are larger than the BRICS, right? It is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, but it's also the UAE.
Saudi Arabia.
It is Saudi Arabia.
Turkey.
It is Turkey. It is Iran.
And for those people who don't know, it is basically, the BRICS countries that you just listed got together and they created their own alliance to counter the power of the U.S. dollar.
Yep.
Yes, and to act as a counterweight because, if the U.S. is going to use the dollar, wield it as a political weapon, you can't expect that your adversaries are just going to fall on their knees and go along with it.
Absolutely.
So this was how, a number of different countries united to counter that power and say, okay, we're tired of this, right? And we're fighting back. For over 11 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They've stood in the gap for every American who believes that faith, family, and freedom are worth fighting for. They are the real deal. But did you know they've got cutting-edge technology as well? Switching is easy. No store visits, no hassle. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% US-based team can activate you in minutes over the phone. And get this, Patriot Mobile is one of the few carriers with access to all 3 major US networks. What does that mean? Exceptional coverage nationwide. Plus, they can even put a second number on a different network on one phone. So it's like carrying 2 phones in one. And they have unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and home internet backup. You can't get all of this from the big guys. So what are you waiting for? Make the switch today and experience the Patriot Mobile difference. Go to patriotmobile.com/Lara or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code LARA for a free month of service. Switch to Patriot Mobile today. That's patriotmobile.com/Lara or call 972-PATRIOT.
Yep, and that's what they have successfully done. And Russia has been, if you ask me, has Putin won the war? He may not have got Ukraine to what level he has, but I think in a very strange way, he has already won the war.
Well, he's fighting almost every country in the world.
He's fighting every country in the world.
In Ukraine.
In a way, he started with essentially 2 superpowers, which was Russia and the United States. Mm-hmm. And now we're in a multipolar world. There is China, there is India, there is the UAE, there is Qatar, there is Saudi, there is multiple countries. So the center of power has moved away from the United States. And now he
to a degree, right? Because some people would say to you, well, but Gaurav, sure, they're trading in yen and whatever, but these are small trades in comparison to what's still being traded in the dollar.
Yes, but I think it's like a rip in your shirt. It keeps ripping, and eventually it will rip your whole shirt apart.
Yes.
So it's like it's growing every day, and and I think unfortunately, the unfortunate part is we as a country are not united. We are in a place where we constantly fight each other. We're constantly attacking each other. Our own systems, they're weaponized against me. How the lobbyists work, how you can basically get lawyers to file bogus lawsuits, how you can file fake complaints and destroy somebody's life, destroy somebody's family, which I was the recipient of for no reason except to hide a lie that was being preferred, but that was being pushed forward by this guy known as Neil Strust.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened to you. So there you are. You're at a very young age, early 30s.
Yeah.
You are in a very unusual position because you're a big player in the oil business. I know it's not your only business, but you had a number of very successful companies.
Yeah.
And you were, how much were you trading? What were you?
At that, we were in the whole supply chain from the time it comes out of the ground to in the ship and then to the refinery. We were looking at the whole supply chain. And Russia was never a country I was even remotely interested in. But not a country I was even thinking about. I looked at a lot of the countries that were frontier markets in Africa or in the Middle East, or Northern Africa, but they were not countries where it was Russia or it was the Chinese. So the war happens, right? And
which war?
The Ukrainian war.
Yes.
And I don't know what the right thing is, Russian invasion of Ukraine or the Ukrainian war. Everybody has a different interpretation of how. Well,
yeah, and if you're going to go into it, look at Odessa and Lugansk and all that, and they go back to the CIA-sponsored Color Revolution, 2012 under Obama and Victoria Nuland, hand-picking who's going to rule Ukraine, and the massacre of thousands and thousands of people across eastern Ukraine, how Obama dismissed the Crimean, referendum when the people of Crimea in the east of Ukraine chose to chose to go with Russia. So yeah, how far you can call it?
yeah.
Let me just say, you can call it the Ukraine war.
Okay, the Ukraine war. So,
On this show.
On the show.
Yeah.
So the Ukraine war happened, and I got a call, and I have, in some way gone over this when we met a couple of years ago, because at that time I was in the thick of this, right?
Yeah, it's like being in the eye of a storm.
Yeah.
It's a tsunami. It's coming at you from every direction. You don't know what's happened, and you're reeling.
And you don't know what's real, because you are still
Correct.
trying to figure out where your true north is. And anyway, I get this call from a business contact of mine.
And your company at the time your oil company was called?
I was working, it was called Cedar West, which was the holding company that I had. And they say, okay, there is this gentleman, his name is Niels Troost, he was in Dubai. And
He's Dutch.
He's Dutch. And he would like to meet with you because his children and his wife hate the Ukraine, hate the war, what Russia is doing in Ukraine. He wants to get out of the Russian oil business after being in it for almost 30 years. This is a veteran oil trader who's been doing this for a long time.
And you knew of him?
I didn't know of him.
You'd never heard of him?
Never heard his name. I mean, we were not exactly in lines of work. I mean, he was in the Russian oil business, which is very specific, and I had nothing to do with them. So completely different lines of effort, right? Anyway, I get this call. I am on a vacation in Bali, and in Ubud, which is beautiful.
And in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. Which, by the way, the Wall Street Journal said that it was a secret location. It was just a beautiful forest.
It's a resort.
It's a resort.
So I don't know if any resort that advertises can really be described.
Yeah, it wasn't a secret.
Can accurately be described as secret. Yeah.
I mean, which is just ridiculous. And anyway, so
Who called you?
this business contact.
He called you.
He called me. He said, Troost really would like to meet you. Can you come to Dubai? I said, I'm not coming to Dubai. It's not happening. I am gone for like almost 2 months, and I don't want to come. I mean, it was a joke. I said, if you want to come over. I didn't think the guy would come over, honestly. It was like, who's going to schlep all the way here, land at the airport? There's no direct flight, right? You go through, you have to go through multiple stops to get there. And he gets there.
At this point, it's Niels Troost himself.
Niels Troost himself.
The Russian oil trader.
The Russian oil trader. Sanctioned. Now he's sanctioned.
Oh, he had sanctions on him already?
No. Now, meaning like as we speak.
Oh,
today,
now he's sanctioned.
He's sanctioned now. So he shows up, and then he brings his wife. Then he goes back, and he brings his wife. And I'm like, this guy is very committed and very serious. And he literally begs me to invest in his company and say my company is going bankrupt. I would like you to support my business. I would like you to give me credit facilities. I would like to move away from the Russian oil trade. My wife and family do not want to be in this. My daughter loves the United States. Literally, we had this conversation for hours about how he loves the United States. And I'm a big believer in this country because this country has been very, very kind to me. I mean, I came here when I was 17 years old and
from
India. I have built a beautiful life, and God's been very kind to me. So I believe in this country. So if you come to me and say you wanted to work in the United States and you have finally woken up, I'm in.
Because what he was saying to you was that I've been working for the Russians. I've been in sanctioned oil, which is it is.
At that time, it was not sanctioned.
It wasn't.
It wasn't sanctioned. It was just started to get sanctioned. And this is the interesting part.
I see.
The same journalists that wrote the article about me were the very same journalists that were targeting him. The same two journalists that wrote the articles on me were the same journalists that were writing negatively about him.
And then they flipped.
Suddenly, they were like, he's a good guy. I mean, they did not even know my name.
At that time.
Did not even know my name.
And this was when?
This is early 2022.
Okay, early 2022. So there you are in the middle of nowhere. You're at a beautiful, expensive retreat. surrounded by nothing.
Except monkeys. It was really beautiful.
And you love animals, obviously, since you stole Studio Dog from me.
And Studio Dog is sleeping.
Yeah, she's already sleeping. She loves you. We're going to have words about that later. Judas Iscariot. And so what happens is you get a call from a business associate. He says, this guy wants to talk to you. You make the offhand remark, well, I'm not going to meet him, but he can come here. And he does.
Yeah.
And he comes not once, but twice. And he brings his wife the second time.
Yeah.
And his basically got a sub story. I need you to save my company. And I need the benefit of your contacts and relationships in the US. And
your money. And your access to your banking facilities, right? And
so what's in it for you? I mean, why on earth would you say yes to that?
He has access to the Asian market space. He has buyers in Asia, right?
Which was a marketplace you weren't in.
I wasn't in that market space. And I wanted to be in the market space. I want to be in the market space in China and sell non-sanctioned oil to China, or sell non-sanctioned oil in US dollars to India, which is the market space that he was operating in. I wasn't in those market spaces.
And by the way, that's a critical market space for the United States because it's
a very important market.
Were there any other American companies in that space?
There are very few, because the access is very hard. It's a difficult market space, and he had that.
And what makes it difficult?
You have to be in the machinery. You have to be you need to have the right contact with the people, the refinery. It takes time to build.
And these are relationships that have to be nurtured.
They have to be nurtured. And he was doing that for the Russians.
Right.
Or for the Russian companies.
Right.
And
so it makes sense to get a partner who knows that space. Right now, somewhere in Nigeria, there's a Christian family being persecuted. Those who are not killed are often forced to flee their homes just because they believe in our Savior, Jesus Christ. At Equipping the Persecuted, they're committed to reaching every affected area to find these people and help heal the deep physical and emotional wounds that have been inflicted upon them. But they can't help them without your support. So please visit equippingthepersecuted.org and donate today. Sign up for just $35 a month. It's a little over $1 a day, and you'll help rescue Christians who are suffering and provide security, medical care, food, shelter, and love. The situation is urgent, so I'm asking you to join in the next 10 minutes. And if you do, they'll send you a special thank you gift. If you're wondering if your support will make a difference, I can tell you that it will. And if you've ever thought about helping, this is the time. It's a life of fear and danger for these Christians. But for just over $1 a day, you can change everything. It could be the most important thing you do today. Go online to equippingthepersecuted.org and make a difference in the life of a persecuted Christian. That's www.equippingthepersecuted.org.
Exactly. And I was like, this makes sense. He doesn't have the supply. We can get him the supply. He doesn't have the money. We can get him the money. But we get a market space that the U.S. company goes in. We're trading in dollars, and that was the plan. And we can expand into other things. We can go into rare earth, critical supply chain minerals. We can look at coal. We can look at other things that are not related to oil, but that are critical to what I believe is the national security of the United States, critical minerals. And that was the plan, right? But what I didn't know, and I only, hindsight is 20/20. What I didn't know was that this very guy,
Niels
Troost, was doing this while he was showing me that this is what he wants to do. On the other side, he is creating essentially an entire obscure mechanism to sell Russian oil for billions and billions of dollars.
I see. So this was what, a kind of cover?
I don't know, but I did report whatever information I had found, and I'll go back to the story of what happened there, right? For billions of dollars, this guy is using my name, my company. He's using just this facade of a relationship, which is just a complete lie. And in retrospect, and he used the same story When he met me, he told me that he was targeted by a CIA guy or ex-CIA guy. And I don't know if Truce watches a lot of really bad Hollywood spy movies, or he's a great bullshit artist, or he makes, I don't know, bad, or he just is like, he's a terrible, or he just loves to destroy people's lives. And I think at the end of the day, maybe he finds pleasure in that. Maybe there is a pleasure in the fact, like these evil forces who have pleasure in the fact that
it's a kind of dark power.
A dark power that I have destroyed somebody. But there is a God, and I always believe that there is a God. And
so I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but what you're reminding me of is how, Hunter Biden did this in Ukraine with the biolabs. Like, the guy that Metabiota, what they were doing is they had legitimate sort of health programs and things that they were doing for public health. And then they had their off the books kind of side to Metabiota, which was in the funding biolabs and biolab research. So it's kind of like that with Truce. He's presenting one side of the business to you, but on the other side, he is doing something.
Yeah, completely off. I don't know about the story with
Metabiota.
with this biolab, and I think it was the kind of money that we're talking about is staggering.
How much?
Well, just one of the accounts was $6 billion. Just one.
Which account?
These are accounts in the Middle East.
Yeah.
$6 billion.
With who?
That Truce was lying about. He's showing us books that his company is making no money. And the real books are making billions of dollars. Wow. Now, keep in mind, I have turned every single piece of paper I had to the government of the U.S., the government of the U.K., the EU, through my lawyers, by the way, the government of the Swiss, and I have given this to everyone. And, and I've made sure that they understand that this is what was happening.
I have copies of quite a lot of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And during that time, I wrote letters to the ambassadors in D.C., to the Swiss ambassador, to the Turkish ambassador, to basically every,
This is 2022.
This is 2022. And and the U.S. ambassadors in those countries. I reached out to them to tell them what I found.
Do you mean to tell me that whole sob story that Truce came to you with?
A complete lie.
Was I'm losing my business, I'm going under, and bringing his wife there to really lure you in emotionally. None of that was true.
None of that was true. Well, it went even further. This man told me, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit archaic. He, he cried to me. This is a grown 55-year-old man. Cries to me, sobs, not like sobs to me and says, G, I feel that you understand me. And I don't know how to process this. Mm. And he says, my father used to beat me up, and I have dreams of hiding in my father's basement, or I'm hiding in the basement of my father, and the authorities are looking for me, and they're coming after me, and I don't know what to do. But he's beating me up. And this is what this man is telling me. And I feel sorry for this guy.
And you fall for it all.
And I fall for it all. And he has a beautiful, family, and I still believe in a beautiful family. He talks about the Western value system, the vision of the United States, living in Switzerland.
He speaks your language.
He speaks my language. He speaks in everything I believe.
Because they've been surveilling you, and they built a profile of
he
you.
He likes the songs I like. He likes John Denver. The songs Poem, Prayers, and Promises? Exact same song. I love the song. It's like.
And when you first meet someone and you're falling in love, you think, wow, that's a coincidence.
That's a coincidence. And
you were naive, it sounds like.
Either I was naive or I was targeted very well.
Or both.
But I don't think anybody's ever equipped to deal with a guy who we now believe has been sanctioned 4 times by first EU citizens to be sanctioned.
Is he a U.S. citizen?
EU citizen.
EU
EU
citizen.
citizen, the first EU citizen to be sanctioned, which hasn't happened before.
Sanctioned by who? The UK?
No, the EU,
Oh, by the EU.
one of their own. And that's something. That's not nothing, right?
No.
And that's not nothing. So
So he knew every button to push.
he knew every button to push. He knew every song to play. He knew Johnny Cash. He knew John. He knew what I liked. He knew the songs I liked. He knew what were the buttons, what I was looking for, what I would be excited about. You know,
Felt like a kindred spirit.
exactly. And he talked about, but even then, I said, listen. And this is where the journal says it's an FBI investigation.
The
Or
Wall Street Journal.
The Wall Street Journal says that I, quote unquote, did an FBI investigation, which is a lie. So I said to him, listen, I really, enjoy you as a friend, and I think we connect, but I'm not exactly the numbers guy. I mean, we've been talking for a while. It's like I'm not exactly as, and I'm all over the show.
Yeah.
I could be a dog trainer, probably better than a businessman. But I think it's just. So I said, listen, I'm going to connect you with my friend of mine who has been with me for a long time. I trust him completely, and he's going to meet you. But he's a hard-nosed guy. He's going to ask you some really tough questions, and please be honest with him. Don't give stories. Normal, right? It's not a big deal. I mean, I do that all the time in other businesses. I say,
you got to vet.
You got to vet.
You're going into someone in the oil business. You're talking millions and millions of dollars, right?
And you're talking about a guy who was written in the Wall Street Journal, written in the Financial Times, was written in multiple publications for buying and selling Russian oil. I like the guy with all this sob story, and I say, okay.
I could have vet this deal.
I could have vet this deal because I like the guy. It's a distressed asset because the company was devalued.
According to the books they showed you.
According to the books they showed. And I said, okay. So anyway, he meets the guy. So my friend, his name is Nicholas. He is on a vacation. This is the lengths they went to. He's on a vacation in Spain with his family because this is during that time, the kids' holidays. And I said, where are you? He said, I'm in Spain. I think he was in Marbella or somewhere. And he says, I said, can you meet this guy? He said, yeah, if he sends me a plane. No joke. The guy sends him a plane. Truce sends him a plane to bring him and drop him back.
Which makes you think that he's very serious.
Which makes me think he's very serious.
But how, if his company was in trouble, how do you have access to a plane?
He didn't. I think he rented the plane.
But how did that make sense to you?
When you say so, trouble is relative, right?
Yeah.
Money is relative. Trouble is relative. So he wasn't going completely bankrupt, but he was close. But I wanted to see how far he's going to go, right? I mean, I was thinking, how far is the guy going to go? How far is he going to? Is he serious? It's like, will he put his money where his mouth is?
And that showed commitment to you.
That showed commitment to me. He had lawyers. He had his lawyers reach out to my lawyers. He had his accountants reach out to my accountants. I mean, we had a very extensive process, right? But he's very good with paperwork. Tremendous with paperwork. And he had this facade set up. Now, keep in mind, we're now in Geneva in one building. And in that same building, you have the first floor as your compliance department, a company called MFT Services. The second floor, you have this company called Harvest Commodities. The third floor, you have Paramount. So in one building, you have the entire structure to replace, add, and change companies. And that's how they did it. They gave us a share certificate that said, after we did the whole deal, that said, stamped, stamped, sealed with everything that makes it look real. And then within one day, they changed the share certificate.
So the share certificate gave you 50% ownership of the company?
Yes.
Okay, but the next day they changed it.
Not when I say next day, it's not like next day. Like on May 2023, when they pulled me out of the company, they literally changed it
in one day.
Changed in one day.
And what do
without going to court,
yeah,
without giving a single explanation, the letter, which was a 3-line letter, said, due to discovered fraud and deceit, we are now amending the share register.
So he gave you 50% of the company, and over the next year and a half,
Yeah.
you did business,
Yeah.
made money,
We made some money.
a lot.
Not a lot of money.
What's not a lot to you though?
I mean, it's all relative. I mean, I think
Right.
I think we didn't make money we didn't get any money. I lost a lot of money. Let's put it that way. In retrospect, I lost a lot of money on now with lawyers and.
Okay, yeah, but at the time the company was successful. The partnership that you two made was successful.
The partnership was successful in a way but this is what was happening. The company was actually making a loss on the face of it. But the real company was making money. But we never saw the books. The books never added up.
Yes, and so
The books never added up. And what was given to me was what was given to the government. Right? Because I was seeing the same thing.
which was the lie.
Which was a lie. And to government across, in Switzerland, the same story. It was a lie. The whole thing is a lie. And it is they even had, big companies like KPMG, which dropped
Big auditing firms
dropped Paramount as a client.
Paramount Oil, and that was the name of his company,
That was the name of
right?
his company.
That he gave you half of.
That's right.
And then when he pulled his exit, right, he changed the share certificate
Instantly.
and
Without ever going to court. I mean, just imagine, you are in Switzerland, right? And Switzerland is one of the best countries for keeping all sorts of, they're the best banking countries. They're very good when it comes to money. They keep your money safe. It's a great country to do business. You're in that country, and now you one day to the next, you get kicked out. That doesn't happen. That's a sophisticated deception program.
oh no, but when you say from one day to the next, so one day you're going along, you think you're partnered with Niels Troost, you own 50% of Paramount, his company, you guys are doing business and doing well. You think that you've taken this company from making a loss to being profitable,
Yes.
right?
And we are trying to move into other sectors. We're going into rare earth. We're going into coal. We're going into mining. We're going into other sectors.
Okay, but then this doesn't happen. The change doesn't happen out of nowhere. It happens
That's
because
right.
you asked for the books.
I asked for the books, and I sent a message about Reagan's quote. It said, "Trust but verify. If they don't listen, pull the plug." And I sent him the quote, and I said, "Enough of the bullshit," because we've been trying to audit this company for more than a year.
So you took him at his word to a degree.
To a degree.
And now you're trying to get access to the books to do this audit.
To do the audit because we need to reconcile the shares.
Right.
And
He's not playing ball.
he said he is sick, his mother is sick, his wife is sick, and how can I not trust him? And we are brothers and, kindred spirits, and we believe in the same thing. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it just keeps going on.
Every excuse under
Every
the sun.
excuse in the world. And then finally I get really upset.
Why are so many young people struggling to have babies today? Birth rates in the US are at record lows, and that's partly because testosterone levels are dropping all the time. According to some studies, T levels are roughly half of what they were 50 years ago. And if we don't reverse this trend, we could be looking at population collapse. And it's why we partnered with CHOQ. They're a Patriot-owned supplement company, and their mission is to save mankind from extinction. They have something called the Male Vitality Stack. and it's been shown in clinical trials to boost your free testosterone by 87% in just 21 days. That is not just a statistic. You will feel it. And ladies, you'll be pleased to know it's not just for men. The female Vitality Stack addresses just about every complaint a woman can have: stress, mood, hormones, energy, and focus. And it'll even help you keep up with your man. So go to CHOQ.com and use code LARA for 17.76% off your subscription. Cancel anytime. Or you can also call 50-CHOQ 3000 and tell them Lara sent you.
Yeah.
I had the Reagan-esque moment, and I said, stop. I said, you should stop and stop lying. Like, cut it. Right after that, I get this letter, which is the letter that...
So that's when it switched.
That's right.
And the letter says what?
The letter that I sent, the letter that he sent.
The letter that he sent.
Nothing. Your shares have been rescinded because of fraud and deceit. Discovered fraud and deceit. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Wow.
Three lines.
Wow. And how much money did those 3 lines represent?
For me, it represented, I had put out a lot of capital to buy these assets. He didn't even pay, he hadn't paid for a lot of these assets. The stories that he made, millions of dollars with it. He didn't, these were all my contacts. These were relationships that I had been working on for a while. They were assets that I had been funding for a while. And I brought all of that into a company that basically was going to be moving away from the Russian oil business. It was not going to be doing Russian oil business because I fundamentally don't agree with Russia. I don't agree with what Putin is doing in Ukraine. I don't know. Neither do I agree what Zelensky is doing, but that's beside the point.
But you didn't want to be,
I don't want to be associated
involved in that.
with it. Exactly. I don't want to be associated with it.
Okay, so that's it's a staggering thing to think about, that you can be in business with someone. I mean, we're talking about the outlay of millions of dollars, right?
Yes.
And you own 50%, and just like that,
Gone.
he changes the share certificate.
And then the nightmare starts. So next, I get this letter. Next day, I write a letter, or my lawyers write a letter to very aware, to every, it's very therapeutic to talk about this really stressful time with
Studio Dog.
With Studio Dog.
She's very comforting.
Because this was a very traumatic time, as you know. I mean, this was a very, very hard time for me.
Yes, I saw you in that time.
Yeah. And
you were super stressed.
Yeah, it's very hard. But anyway, so I say, okay. Next day,
did you think that letter was real when you got it?
No.
I mean, did you not think what is this? This is nuts.
No, I thought that there was going to be a dispute. We're going to go to court. It happens. People are greedy. When they see, when money is involved, people are greedy. I get that, right? But I never thought that my entire life would never be the same. I never thought that. Never contemplated that. But what I did was the right thing. I went to the different ambassadors in D.C., the different U.S. ambassadors in those countries, and I said, look, this is what I got, and I believe the guy is hiding a lot of money. He's stealing a lot of money, and I believe he's selling sanctioned Russian oil. It's just right after that. Right then, I reported everything. Even before that, I reported everything on what I found. The moment I discovered that he was trading in Russian sanctioned oil, I reported it. Not even a beat skipped. Then what happened?
Well, just before you do that, before you go on to explain that, just explain that to me, because you can trade in Russian oil even if it's sanctioned.
He was selling it above the price cap.
Because there's a fixed price, right?
Yes, this came under the Biden administration. So $60 per barrel was a fixed price cap. And he was selling the oil above the price cap. Not only was he selling it above the price cap, he was using a mechanism in Switzerland, in Dubai, using a mechanism in which he had every employee in Switzerland had a UAE phone number and a Swiss phone number, a UAE email and a Swiss email, but they were actually based in Switzerland. It was an evasion of the sanction regime. So he was fudging everything. I mean, I'm saying everything. He is fudging everything from phone number to records to emails to, I mean, this is Bernie Madoff. Essentially, this guy is Bernie Madoff.
He's like a Bernie Madoff in the oil business.
In the oil business.
But now, and weren't your bank accounts and company, wasn't it all based in Dubai at that time?
They were based in Dubai and Switzerland at that time.
Okay, and you were physically where?
I was in LA.
But he was living in Switzerland.
He was living basically in Dubai most of the time.
And what he did was he got people within the regulatory agencies in Dubai. They were already on his payroll.
No, it was not the agency. It's the banks. So the banks have a lot of the lower level guys that just pass through the compliance. And, Dubai was in a gray list at that time because of practices like this. And now they have hopefully changed their procedures because now they are back to I don't know what they call, like a white list or something. If there is such a thing with the Middle East. They're now hopefully doing better compliance, right? And they made it up. They made the books up. They cooked the books. They cooked the books. They cooked the accounts. They cooked the sheets.
They made it look like you had never owned that.
Like I had never owned it, and they lied because I filed a case. I filed a criminal complaint against Niels Troost in the UAE. Niels Troost and Francois Moron and a bunch of them. I filed a criminal complaint.
And Francois Moron was working for Niels. Mm-hmm. And the UAE, just so for people who don't know, Dubai is really the capital of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates.
They're not the capital. Abu Dhabi is the capital.
Abu Dhabi is the capital.
But for this kind of for trade, for banking,
Dubai is the center.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, the ruler of the UAE, the ruler of Dubai, sorry, not the UAE. The ruler of UAE is Mohammed bin Al Nahyan. Both of them tremendous visionaries to be able to create what
they have created
what
out
Mohammed
of the
bin
desert.
Rashid has created in the desert is completely amazing.
With shopping centers, with indoor snow.
I mean, keep in mind. I mean, I
slopes and
I remember this. Expo 2020 is in Dubai, and I'm there, and I'm standing at this deck, looking at this crowd of people. This is not to digress, but I just remembered about Dubai, and you see a crowd of people, all colors, all shapes, all sizes. By the way, none of these people will ever become Emiratis, because they are always going to be on this permanent residence permit or the gold card visa, whatever. But they will never. It's not like America. It's not like you can live here and become a citizen.
No. It's a very closed club.
Very closed club.
You can play on our terms,
but you have to be born into it.
Right, and we can kick you out anytime we want.
But think about this. Expo 2020 Dubai is announced, and the entire crowd erupts about how great for Dubai is to be hosting this. And you got to give it to that man, Mohammed bin Rashid, that he has been able to put that together. Which is, if you think about it, it's like, I'm never going to be a citizen here. I can be gone at any given time. But he has made people believe, which I mean is very safe for women, very safe for a lot of people.
Well, okay. It's also built on slave labor. And all the people that come from the Philippines and all the other countries, that are paid next to nothing, whose passports are taken when they get there, who have absolutely no rights. It's rife with Russian prostitutes. It's rife with black money. It's rife with money laundering for terrorist organizations. So I'm going to let you wax lyrical about the wonders of Dubai because you have all your business over there.
No, it's not about.
But I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
No, it's not about wonders of Dubai. I just think that anything that grows too fast has issues. Anything.
I mean, even things that grow slowly have issues.
Yes, but
if we're honest about it.
But things that grow too fast have issues, right? So, I think that especially in the case of Dubai, I think they have. You're right. There's plenty of issues there, and especially now, it's become a very I mean, all this activity that we're talking about, Russian, Iranian, it's all out of there.
Yes, all
And
the terrorist money, all the money laundering. But it is a miracle. It's a marvel.
It's a marvel
to see. It is. I've been there many times, coming out of the battlefields of Iraq and sometimes Afghanistan, going through Dubai. I mean, you almost can't believe your eyes.
I mean, look, they have been very nice. You know, they were
Sure, they want your money and your business.
Yeah, but they were honest. You know, that's one thing I tell you. When I filed the case,
Yes.
they were, which everybody told me. They said the police is not going to act because it's the same thing. They would, it's corrupt and this and that and the other. But they did act. They did act. They did things that they did act. They were very expeditious in their investigations. They did everything by the book.
And they froze the money in the company,
They froze
right?
the money in the company.
How much money?
At that time, I think it was $800 some million from just one account.
And you would have owned half of that.
Now, this is where I don't know how much of this is given that he was using this to do sanction.
You don't know exactly where those lines
where
are.
the lines are. So
okay, and why was it in Dubai that you went to the police in Dubai? Why didn't you go to the police in Switzerland?
I did that too.
Okay, so you went to the police in both countries.
Yes, I did that too.
And they both worked with you?
They worked with me. I have no problem with any of them. They were very nice.
But the money was physically in bank accounts in Dubai.
Yeah.
And money in Switzerland too?
In Switzerland too. And we have a case going on in Switzerland currently where we have filed a case against Mr. Troost and his cohorts.
And how much money is at stake here?
Switzerland, I think it's about 150 something that is at stake.
150 what?
150 million that's in stake.
So you talking millions like other people talking dollars.
Well, it's still dollars.
But you know what I mean? It's a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with
It's
oil.
oil.
It's oil. Dealing with oil. It's the currency that, and this is what this is what we talk about, Lara, many times. It's like this is the currency that moves the world, and I personally we discussed many times. I feel I'm incredibly blessed. God's been very kind to me, and even though I have had my own tribulations, I have been through. I tried to kill myself 2 times. We talked about this
Because of what they
did to me.
Destroyed your reputation, destroyed your businesses.
Everything. Completely finished me.
And the targeted information campaign against you.
437 articles, paid-to-play articles.
Oh, you can Google your name right now.
And it's
Gaurav, Gaurav,
and
Srivastava.
And it's a debacle.
Yeah,
Everything.
it's one thing after another.
It's just, but I have faith. I found a lot of faith in this time, and I kept reading. I was at church multiple times during this time, and
you're Catholic, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And always was Catholic growing up in India.
Well, I went to a Catholic school while I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a school called St. Columbus in India, which was a Catholic school, and there is the Psalm 23, Psalm 23 or 30, the Valley of Death.
Yeah, that's 23.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
And it's a very powerful. It's a very powerful.
Very.
When you read that, you can actually feel that God's there. You can feel that it's there, and I felt it multiple times. 2 times when you are at a stage where where everything that you have built is taken away from you. At a moment of time when you have spent your life trying to build something. I mean, keep in mind, I came here when I was 17. I didn't know a soul. I didn't know, I didn't know anybody, right? And I came to the United States. Well, that's not exactly. I came when I was 4 here to get a kidney surgery.
When you were tiny.
When I get a kidney surgery.
Because you were close to dying.
But yes, I had a ureter twisted, and I couldn't pee, which, you get urea buildup. I used to be
You're just a little boy.
writing in pain every night.
And your parents brought you here to the U.S.?
My parents brought me here to the U.S. And I was in Cleveland, Ohio, and that's where I spent some time. And the U.S. healed me. I never knew I was going to come back, right? But, sometimes...
When you came here as a little boy?
I never knew that. I learned how to walk again because I was I had.
You were very, very sick.
I had tubes hanging out of me. I had a catheter, which was painful. I mean, it was brutal.
And your parents brought you here to the U.S. for treatment because
it's not.
You couldn't get that kind of treatment in India.
Yes, and luckily, they had the resources to do that. They were blessed enough to have the resources to do that.
And they did what?
I got a surgery.
No, but your father did what?
My father is also in business. He was in business in India before.
So you were a fairly well-off family in India.
Yeah. I mean, we had a multi-generational family business. So the narrative that Mr. Truce comes up with that I basically came to exist because of him is retarded, literally retarded. I mean, I've been, multi-generations of business. This is not exactly was born.
You didn't come from poverty.
No, I didn't. No, but I didn't. But we came from a lot of adversity. I understand what it is to be out there. I mean, we traveled the world. We understood exactly what it is.
And when you were little, you stayed in the U.S. how long? When you came for that surgery?
I think almost a year and a half. I was here because I was supposed to have my surgery. It was supposed to take only 6 months, and the day of the surgery, they told me not to eat anything, and I had Oreo cookies. It's really good.
You were always a bad boy.
I was always a bad boy. It's never. It's always been. That's been the consistent through line.
So okay, what happened then?
Well, said I can't operate on you, and that's just what. And then I ended up going back, staying in Cleveland, stayed for a couple more months till they couldn't find any more Oreo cookies, and then they operated. I still have a scar, from that surgery, but things became difficult because I couldn't swim. Little things, which are not big things, but I couldn't swim because of the doctor recommended not to swim, and little things I couldn't do. But over time, things got better, right? And then I did not have the best grades when I was in school in India.
No, you were a bad boy in school too.
Yes, it's consistent through line. So I couldn't get into. So I ended up going to a little university in St. Charles, Missouri.
Okay, but you go back to India.
I finished
and then you came back. You finished high school.
High school,
and you came back to the U.S. when you were 17.
That's right. And I was going through. I was at this school. It was called. It's in St. Charles, Missouri, right at the border of the Missouri River, which is beautiful. And though they had only one company called the Greenway Taxi Company, there was no Uber then, and you had to call the company an hour in advance to be able to get the one taxi that was in town.
What year was this?
This is, I think this is when Obama was just running. I remember this because it was the All Hope campaign was coming in.
Wow. So Obama was coming into office.
And
you were going into school.
Yes.
In right there in the Missouri River.
Right, exactly. So, but I stayed there for only a little bit, and then I moved to USC.
And you dropped out.
No. I moved to USC.
Okay. Then you dropped out.
Then I dropped out.
Okay. Just to be clear.
And I remember my grade point wasn't that great because I was always interested in a lot. There's so much going on in the world, and I really think that if you have to focus on what's going on with the understanding of the global scene, I think is not exactly understood within the university complex. And I mean, you understand this. When you are out there, it's just a different world.
It is a different world.
And, I have traveled to a lot of the places that you have traveled to. And now in a different capacity, I don't want to drop coffee on your floor.
But some people learn from experience.
Better than...
And some people learn, from books. And some people learn from both. I mean, most people learn from a little bit of both. But yours was primarily you wanted
experience.
To... Yes.
And I wanted to go out there. And I think that's what really made all the difference.
And we've diagnosed you with dyslexia now.
Yes.
You and I have.
I think so.
Doctors Logan and Srivastava have now made the determination because...
I think that's...
just because knowing you have this big brain, big vision, big perspective that is very consistent with people who live on that side of their brain.
It's like what Trump calls the weave.
Possibly.
He called it the weave. I was watching
beautiful brain.
I was watching his interview with Rogan.
Yeah.
And he goes off the tangent, and Rogan says, "What are you doing?" He said, "This is called the weave."
The weave. That's funny. Yeah, I know a few people who do the weave.
It's called the weave.
I've experienced the weave in a number of interviews. But the point is really just that you do have a visionary kind of mind and the way that you look at the world. And that is not, school is not always built for that.
No, I think you're supposed to think in boxes, right? You're supposed to think A,
Right.
B, C is supposed to happen. I'm here telling you that the entire oil industry that is out there, the petrodollar is being essentially destroyed, and I'm telling you that oil is an intelligence tool, meaning a lot of the stuff that's out there that is being told in the boxes isn't true.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who would defend those boxes.
Yes.
Very successful people, very accomplished people who will say, that's ridiculous. U.S. oil and the petrodollar are still much more powerful than anything else. These are fringe efforts. They're going to fail.
Time will tell.
Time will
tell.
And
But-
that's your one cliche.
Time will
I
tell.
limit it to one cliche per interview. No, I'm just kidding.
Time will tell.
Just do not say truth is like a lion.
No.
Because then you're out.
No, truth's like, I don't know. No. The thing about truth is, what is the thing about truth that he says, John II says this, it's like, the truth shall set you free.
And it always does.
And I do believe that.
I do believe that too.
And I do believe that. And I think deep inside, I think that's really what I believe. And
that's what, when you get attacked and targeted like that, part of what kills you with a false narrative out there, or many false narratives, is if you really do believe and try to live true to yourself. And that means being honest with yourself as much as you can. It's very hard to live with that lie and deceit. But then also at the same time, it's also what keeps you going. Because when you have the truth,
you become much more aware
That's your power.
when you're being attacked, And look, I was there was an article that came out in Pakistan today. In India, I filed a lawsuit. I won the lawsuit against
a defamation
suit against the entire Indian media, and I was able to prove that these things were paid. So
these are not. Many of them are not real articles. It's not. Now some of them are journalists going out and writing them. But what Niels Truss essentially did was pay people to write nasty articles about you.
If you think about it, this is exactly what happened. So when he went down the procedure of, after he rescinded the shares.
He falsified
the share register.
The documents, stripped you of your shares.
Stripped me of my shares. After that, his lawyer goes on a letter writing campaign to every single contact I had. And I'm not kidding, every single contact I had.
And you had pretty extensive contacts.
And I still do. And all those people never left me.
Okay, but wait, not all of them, because some of them left you. The Democratic Party dumped you.
Those people, I think, the people that I don't think the party dumped. I think the party as a whole may not be representative of what certain people are trying to do.
Okay, but powerful people in the Democratic establishment dumped you.
And that happened because of a guy by the name of Ankit Desai.
Who's a lobbyist.
Who is a lobbyist. Interestingly, he's also the lobbyist for TikTok. And he was also the lobbyist for Venezuela. For Venezuelan oil.
Nice guy.
But he was
he has extensive connections to China. And to Venezuela.
And he was an ex-Biden aide. And he got, I don't know, 1.4 or 1. I don't know the exact number, but he got a lot of money from Truss.
From Niels Truss. Your nemesis.
After he was sanctioned.
After Truss was sanctioned.
And
by the UK government. For doing what? For trading in sanctioned oil?
It said for aiding and abating the government of Russia and for the unfettered trade of sanctioned Russian oil.
Okay, so violating the trade in sanctioned oil. Okay, so let's just go back to your extensive connections, though, that Niels Truss was writing to. Ankit Desai was a Biden aide.
Biden aide.
You gave money to Biden, right?
Yes.
How much?
Well, I gave part the party,
To the party.
to the DCCC. I mean, a couple $1 million we had given at that time,
$2 million.
and we had given him.
What were you thinking?
I have only one agenda. I have always had only one agenda.
Which is what?
Which is whenever I sat in the meeting with any of these people, and I met with a bunch of them, I always talked about the
Like
same
who?
thing. From Chuck Schumer to Pelosi to the president to any of these people,
Amos Hochstein.
Amos Hochstein, I always talked about one thing, which is the same thing we talk about,
What?
which is oil is an intelligence tool. We are being used by our adversaries to basically, cajole us. It's a lie. And let's wake up and let's take control of the narrative and let's take the oil and bring it back to the United States and drop the price of oil. That's always my narrative.
One of the first things you ever said to me when we first sat down face to face was that there's so much money in oil that you can still be very, very rich and reduce the price of oil substantially to improve the lives of people everywhere. And you've always believed in that.
I believe that. I believe that the way to you have to pass your wealth down to the people. It has to happen because a country, you don't want a Mary Antoinette moment in America. You just don't. You don't want a moment where the people are suffering.
Well, you just don't. I can't bear suffering.
It's just it's painful.
Why should people live in poverty, mired in poverty?
You go to Compton or you go to Baltimore, and you
Terrible.
go to.
Let me tell you, you go around here. I live in a county that has the highest number of millionaires living in any county in the state of Texas because a lot of wealthy people retire here from Houston and Dallas. And you know what? You can find people doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs who are still living just hovering above the poverty line.
I can never forget this. I was going to Inglewood, which is near in LA, and my car was out of gas, so I pulled in, which is near the gas station.
You are a bit of a reckless driver. We have established this a number of times.
No,
Yeah,
No, because you were
But I
running.
did make my flight.
You were running late. you were running late. You came to the office and you were running late. So
I was like, are you sure you're not South African? Because this reminds me a lot of home.
but you had to make your flight.
I did. This is true.
You said you came out to see me, and I did not want you to miss your flight. So.
Okay, so you ran out of gas.
So I ran out of gas. Anyway, this is the weave.
The weave. I might be guilty.
So I ran out of gas, and then I pulled into the gas station, and there's this woman with this baby in the car, and she rolled the windows down, and she's staring at the pump, literally staring at the pump, and I just put in my gas, and I'm watching it get filled, and she's staring at the pump, and she's counting. She goes into her cup holder, and she's counting the pennies she has. And I just chatted, and I like talking to people. As you know.
Talk to everyone.
I talk to everyone. I love talking to people. So I asked her, I said, how's your day? So what's going on? And she said, it's a very tough day today. And I said, why? She said, I just came, I just worked down the street. I just finished my second job. I'm trying to take my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese, and I can't go because I was expecting the price to be a certain price, and I don't have the kind of money. And I'm a single mom. This is an African American woman, and her eyes are teary eyed. I mean, she just lost. And I said, so what you gonna do? And she said, I don't know. Maybe I'll tell my daughter that I cannot take her. And I said to her, I said, listen, don't worry about it. Just fill your gas, fill your tank up, and I will pay it inside. And here is $100, and go take your daughter to Chuck E. And at that moment of time, I realized that That is what matters. That is exactly what matters. And that's what we are fighting for. We are fighting for that woman. We are fighting for that little girl who's trying to go to Chuck E. Cheese. We're fighting for that mom who just came out of her working 3 jobs or 2 jobs and is staring at the pump. But she's not able to figure out what, she doesn't understand global politics, geopolitics, Russia and China and Iran and blah, blah. It doesn't make sense. All she's trying to do is to fill that pump up so she can take her daughter to Chuck E. Cheese. And to me, it's always been about that. It is about that. Because at the end of the day, we can make a lot of money and, we have, God's very kind and you can make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, for me, I believe that he God puts you in difficult places so you can create the journey to make life better for other people. And that has kind of been my goal. That is my goal. And that's why I go into the things I do and countries I go and places I go. And because
it's kind of like when you've been through a lot of adversity, as you said, but when you're blessed, it's kind of this realization that comes to you that God gives you these blessings to share in whatever way, whatever form that may be, but that they're meant to be shared, and it's very distinct. It's not a Marxist kind of ideology at all. It's just about doing the right thing for the right reason, and understanding that you're not the center of your life. Even though we all feel that we're the center of our lives, and no one feels that more than teenagers, right? You see it in them; they're the center of their life because they're trying to figure it out and they're trying to get to a place where they can take care of themselves. It's that moment when you see a newborn calf or deer or horse, right?
He's trying to stabilize
on his legs.
Yeah.
Yes, and so human beings take a longer time to get to that point, and so of course you can be. It's easy to be blinded by that struggle.
But I think that's at some stage, every single person requires to stabilize, right?
Yes.
And I think I've seen this so many times. Not only there, I mean, I've seen this many times in Baltimore City. I've seen this across the United States because I love to talk to people. I love to know what they're happening in their lives and how I can help.
Well, you actually like people.
I love people, and I think that they are. Because you see, I don't see a difference between me and that mom. I don't see a difference between me and a person on the thing. I don't see a me
or the president sitting in front of you.
No,
yeah.
For me, they're all the same.
Well, all people are born equal.
I don't believe in the concept of blue blood. I think we all bleed red.
Which is funny because you know a few blue-blooded folks.
No, I do know a few blue-blooded, but I don't believe. But we all bleed red. And by the way, I wore this blue because it looks good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have worn that.
Well, and so okay, Gaurav, let's go back just a step for people, and we haven't really explained what happened to you. Because you go into work one day and you've got this growing sense of unease, right? That over time, as you're trying to audit the books and asking questions, it's dawning on you that this person may not be being honest, and then you bring in an accounting firm, right?
Yeah.
And they don't get full access, but they see enough to tell
me that there is a big problem.
And just at the moment that you realize there's a big problem and you put, as they say, put the screws to Niels Troost, your Dutch partner, that's when he flips the switch.
That's right.
And overnight, you're locked out of the company, locked out of the computers.
Everything.
Change all the passwords.
Everything.
Change the documents.
Literally, overnight. Like that.
And you don't, when that happens to you.
And this guy goes from calling me 5 times a day.
Yeah, to ghosting you.
To ghosting me. And I send him a message. This is how pathetic the story is.
Yeah.
I sent him a message, question. I didn't tell him fuck you. I should have told him fuck you.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't do that. I said question.
And he ignored it.
And no, and he ignored it, but he said that was a sign of my desperation. I mean,
He used it later against you.
I'm like, you call me 5 times a day, and now I send you 3 question marks, and that is my sign of desperation?
Okay, so what happens next though is pretty staggering. And I, from the first time you told me about it, I recognized the tactics of information warfare.
Yeah.
Right? Because he has now stolen everything from you. He's fabricated documents, but he instantly turns the tables on you.
And that's when the story of the CIA and
That you claimed.
By the way, I never claimed to be the CIA. No, everybody.
He says that you claim to be the CIA, and you have this shadowy friend who also claimed to be CIA.
Who was the shadowy friend?
John.
Well, he's not. There's nothing shadowy about it.
And there's also not a claim.
There is not a claim. He is.
I don't know if we want to mention his name
No,
here
I think-
just for the sake of his privacy, but I mean, you had a really good friend who was
Yeah.
in the agency, and they tried to sort of create this cloak and dagger kind of narrative. Well, they did. They didn't try. They did create
did.
this narrative around you.
I mean, I have a lot of friends from the intelligence community, but they're
Of course,
friends.
you're in oil.
I'm in oil.
You're in oil, and you're dealing with those levels of money and power and influence.
I have.
You probably have contacts in many different intelligence
many
agencies.
different agencies. That's not the.
And half your contacts, you don't even know if they're
I
in
don't-
those agencies.
I don't know that. I would like to. I would like to remain naive.
Hey, that got you in trouble once before. Learn your lesson.
I want to go back to that. I think it's better to not naive. It's like somebody told me one time. He said people are like projector screens. They show you an image,
Yeah.
you see the image, but over time, experience gives you like a knife. You cut
Yeah.
through it,
Yeah.
and then you see an ugly little projector. And I try to, and for now, because of the tumultuous 2.5 years, I want to enjoy the image. I don't want to cut through right now.
Well, and also at your core, you do believe in the goodness of humanity. So
I mean,
while
there
you
are-
recognize that those things exist, you don't want to live
No, I don't
like
wanna do
that.
There's a lot of good people, in the world. A lot of good people in the world who have supported me. A lot of good people have supported me. I'm still here. I'm
Yeah.
still here after a brutal assault. I'm still here.
So what was the assault?
But
Can you describe
so,
it?
Yeah. So after this whole thing came up, I am now left pondering what's going on.
And trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure out what happened.
What just happened to
What
me?
just happened to me?
I got
And
blindsided.
I got blindsided. I feel very stupid. And I am. So I wake up 6 a.m. in the morning, and I see an article in Pakistan Today that says the story, CIA, blah, the whole story.
Well, tell us the story.
The story,
It says what?
the story says that Mr. Neil Struz has been duped by me in a CIA.
you're a con man.
That I'm a con man. I'm a fraud. I am this, which I've never been. This is the first time this all came to light.
No one's ever accused you of that
No one's
before.
ever accused me of this before. And they fabricated cases against me. They fabricated lies against me. And I thought it's going to go away because it was in a Pakistan outlet.
And it wasn't true.
And it wasn't true. Multiple, but it's done that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And I'm like, okay, well, it still did not come out in a major outlet. Then these AI videos start coming out. These fake puppet videos start coming out.
Showing what?
Showing me in different CIA badges and outfits. And, they start creating images of me with money raining behind me.
Because that's like how every real spy operates, right? With a badge.
With a badge, and then they made an image of me with swords behind me. Project Brazen did that. Bradley Hope's platform.
I really want to talk about Project
And
Brazen. Yeah, we'll come back to that.
They wrote a story. I forgot the name of the story. I try to block out all this stuff in my head. Anyway, they wrote 2 stories on me. One of the stories had me with literally swords behind my head. And the story they made was that I said that these swords were given to me by different heads of state. I have a sword collection. I have different kinds of collections. I mean, it's just nothing to do with any head of state. I like collecting, I like collecting different historical items. I think they mean something. And I collect everything from maps to books to swords to all kinds, to coins, which are historical artifacts that tell a story. But they took that part of the story and they created a picture of me with a red background. And that was the front page of that. And they wrote an entire article. They never reached out to me for comment. Never said, what do you have to say? Nothing.
And what is Project Brazen?
So, never heard about them. Project Brazen there are two journalists, Bradley Hope and Tom Wright.
From the Wall Street Journal?
From the Wall Street Journal, that have a Singapore-owned company. This is an interesting structure. Singapore-owned company that has a UK subsidiary, and they are essentially running this entity that is exposing these big fish. And Bradley Hope's made his name on this book called The $1 Billion Whale, which was Joe Low.
Yes.
Now, interestingly,
and people can look that up. I mean, $1 Billion Whale was a big story.
Big story.
They've done documentary films.
Do you know the firm that represented Joe Low was the firm that Bradley Hope was investigating at that time. That exact firm, and I don't know if I should mention their name or not, but that exact firm is the same firm that represented Neil Struzd.
The law firm.
That's right.
Okay, so Bradley Hope, though, was a former Wall Street Journal reporter. And his partner...
Tom Wright. I think he's also Wall Street
Also
Journal.
Wall Street Journal. And they're pretty much like the Fusion GPS of your story.
Yeah.
It's another one of these companies that is founded out of former Wall Street Journal reporters who have, completely crossed the line from journalism into sort of intrigue, political world, intelligence, and they claim to be exposing people, have an enormous amount of money behind them.
They have a tremendous amount of resources.
Resources, yes.
Because, independent journalism isn't cheap.
Oh, no, not cheap at all.
And they are spending a lot of money. And how do they pick their story? I mean, think about it. I am not somebody, by the way. I was relatively unknown. I was unknown for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, you may have been, sort of
I was
known in the industry.
In industry, but nobody knew of me.
Yeah.
And why would you repeat a story that has been repeated? Just as a journalist, if you see a story that has been printed 300 times, the same story, why would you pick that story up and write it again?
Well, you wouldn't.
And you would question, why is that happening? And what happened is...
And you would also notice, by the way, because when you look at a lot of the hit pieces on you, a lot of them are the same.
They're all the same.
And
everything from the Wall Street Journal to the Financial Times to the Project Brazen to India to the Indian Tribune or
Hunting Whale,
all the same.
Yes, I mean there's details that differ, but the story is essentially that you're this con man that presented yourself as if you were working for the CIA, that it was all a lie, and that you stole Neil Struz's company.
He stole the company.
He's the victim, and you're the fraudster. And
check this out: after he spun this story, four countries sanctioned him.
Because they knew that he was,
and Neil Struz said that they sanctioned him. It's in the EU report. Then even the Financial Times says Neil says that I have mounted a massive disinformation campaign against him, and therefore he's been sanctioned. Are you kidding me?
Like, who are you to be so powerful that you can get foreign governments to do that?
EU has what, 23 countries? 20. It needs unanimous consent of 23 countries, including his own
Wasn't
country.
he the first EU citizen
I think he still is the first EU
to be
citizen.
sanctioned by the EU?
I think he still is the first EU citizen to be sanctioned. Still.
Okay, and so
But just think about it. 23 EU countries, including his home country, of Netherlands, right? And the UK, the Switzerland, Monaco, and France. 5 countries. And one of his companies that is sanctioned is in the United States by OFAC, was the sole supplier to his company.
but did you play a role in getting him sanctioned?
I did not play any role in getting him sanctioned. All I did was I did what is my civic duty, which is report what I saw. It's like we go to the airport, you say, say, if you see something, say something. That's all I did.
Okay, Mister, I'm pretending that,
No,
I understand, but in reporting, I mean, what you reported was true,
Yes.
and you had a duty to report that.
I just printed out everything and gave it. I didn't even like, I didn't even like I just printed it and I told the lawyers to package it and send it. There was nothing. We did nothing.
It's not like you ran a campaign where you're, going and meeting with people.
How nobody is capable. I mean, how are you capable of that, right? I mean, it's like you would meet 23 member states.
Well,
I mean,
also at that time, see, because I saw you at that time and spoke to you often. I mean, you were reeling from the storm.
I was about to kill myself.
Yeah.
2 times.
Yeah.
Neil Strauss was not my problem. My own life was my problem. There were fake FBI investigations that people were making up. My banks were getting called and said, "Oh, look at this," as fake journalists. My entire world was coming apart. I can spend millions of dollars creating bogus litigation, harassing you, putting false articles, false media, and you have to spend your money to defend yourself. And if you do not have money,
No, you're done.
you're done.